Hello friends, today we're going to watch Puppey, captain of Team Secret, legendary player, arguably best team in the world right now, play Io. I've noticed he's been playing a lot of Io, and he's been winning a lot as well. And if he can do it at this caliber, there's some merit to the hero. Now Weeha's playing Sven, mid one is playing Luna, and Invoker is played by Gunner, so it is a pretty stacked game. Now, Puppey has been doing mostly the same skill build, same item build in these games that I took a look at. We're going to watch this one and just kind of see what he does. Io is a pretty unique position 5. And in fact, he kind of used to be a position 4 because he needed items. But with the changes where both supports are now getting a bit of gold, it seems like some teams are now, or maybe not teams, but players, I've noticed, have started to play Io as a position 5. But he's still sort of this 4.5. So he is kind of a unique hero in that sense. Very different how you play Io rather than like any other position 5. So if you're looking to start playing some Io, it's probably best to take a look at someone as good as Puppey, start to see what they do. Let's look at itemization. Tangos, as always. I'm curious. Do you not share tangos? Or maybe the Shadow Demon is going to share tangos. That would make sense to me. Let's see it. I want to see it. I need to confirm. He's not doing it. Okay, so Puppey did share one tango. I think he was hoping the Shadow Demon would share one instead. Maybe two. That kind of already shows what I'm talking about. Where Io needs to be kind of greedy with what he does. And because he wants to start Headdress, he doesn't have too much money to buy a bunch of extra tangos. Now, the reason Headdress is pretty good is because you get 2 health regen for yourself and in an aura to Luna. And because you're going to spend all your time next to Luna, that's pretty good. But when you are tethered as well... Okay, we're going to pause real quick because several things are happening that I want to talk about. Unfortunately, we can't see the... Hold on. Let's go back. You can't see the description of Tether until he breaks it. Okay, so if you don't know much about Io, I'm going to do a brief description here. Tether shares the regen that Io has with whoever he's tethered to. So Headdress on Io has like, not double, but extra value, where you share the, like, Luna gets 2 HP regen, Io gets 2 HP regen, but then 0.6 of that HP regen is then shared with his tethered target, Luna, as well. So in the end, level 1, Luna ends up getting like 3.2 regen from this Headdress when Io is tethered to her. So Io specifically gets a lot of value out of Headdress. It's a very common starting item for him at this time. And then as you level up Tether, you will end up sharing even more than the 2 HP. So for now it's 0.6, but later when you max it out, it'll be 1.5. It's kind of Io's thing. Now this trick right here, it's a little busted because of the replay, but if you tether, there we go. If you tether to someone outside of 700 units range, then you will like zip to them like we saw, and when you arrive at your destination, you will break all the trees around you. I've noticed that a lot of players at the higher level like to use this trick to break some of the trees at the start, and it makes sense, especially when you have a range carry like Luna, because she doesn't have a Quelling Blade, he has limited tangos, he doesn't want to go breaking these trees himself. So they do this trick so that they can run through here, do some pulls maybe, or if they get tossed somewhere dangerous by Tiny, it's easier to get back to base. You break these trees, you have an easier time seeing the enemy. Kind of, I think it follows a similar idea to why I've been testing out the Quelling Blade start on squishy supports. Because if you can see someone like Tiny or ET walking into you, you just back away, and they never get that element of surprise. They have a much harder time playing around these trees. So I don't know, I think Io likes to do that. And I think we're going to see him do it again. Yep, when he lands at his destination, he breaks all these trees. Now, of course, you got to start some tangos. And then he has a sentry, I believe, because he would like to have the option to pull or block a camp. It could be either. Against an ET, it's not fully clear what their lanes are, although they're about to see that ET is here. Maybe he'll want to block a camp because he tends to throw these spirits onto camps, and then that's how he gets his damage. Now you'll notice that they sent Puppey to get the ward, or to get the rune. That's because of that tether mechanic, where you tether to someone 700 units away. And, by the way, this range is massive. If you've never played IO, we'll see it here. Do you see the line? I pointed with my hand as if you could see. I can't move my mouse because otherwise we'll lose the range. But in the top left, you can see the range of tether. It is very long how far you could tether to someone. And so you can do things like this, where as long as someone is in the area for you to get to, you can come out, play a little aggressive. The mid one knows, he backs up to give Puppey somewhere to go. Now he does get cold snap and it gets broken up, but he is going to be all right. He's going to be down a tango, already queues up another set, but chooses to buy a salve instead. I think that makes sense. I think ET and Elder Titan, ET and Tiny, they don't really chip you down. They just kind of try to burst you all at once. ET does a little bit of chipping, but Tiny, when he goes in, he tries to get the full kill right off the bat. So I think a salve, you survive that burst, you salve up, you're ready to go. It's a little better than slowly tangoing up, because by that point, Tiny could try to burst you again. And you will notice that usually IOs don't get to pull as often, and it's because you frequently have to be tethered to your carry to really be doing something. And so IOs, I feel like, and at least we'll see Puppey do it this way, you tend to play the lane a little bit more than maybe some other position 5s who might prioritize going for pulls. They're actually going to kill ET here, it looks like. Nice. So Tiny is doing... Oh, Tiny was pulling, and so they identified that as a chance to play aggressive. ET is on his own, and you got 2 heroes here. Now see, at this time, this would be when you might usually see the position 5 give solo XP to the carry, but IO doesn't really work like that. IO... I kind of hate that we can't see the ability of Tether, but IO really wants to get a lot of levels, and he's almost always next to his carry, or whoever his target is, whether it's the carry or the mid laner, whatever. If it's the mid laner, you get to that point later. But if it's the carry, you start in the lane, and then later you transition, whoever your main buddy is. Now right here, he has a chance to pull, so he's going to. But to finish that thought, oftentimes you will share XP when you play IO, just because it increases your efficiency. So here we can see Tether now, where 0.6, it's okay. But you really want to get to 0.9, and even 1.2, we're going to see Puppey maxes Tether first, actually. And I think it's just because you share a lot more regen with your carry, and it makes it so that who cares if you're taking damage, you just heal it up. Now, that's something else I want to point out, is that you try to split the damage. He's a little late to the pull. He's going to try to do this. Even though he fails the pull, looks like he's going to get the stack. Right? Yep, okay. Now, you want to share damage on IO. When you're playing IO, so this is different than if you play an Ogre, right? Ogre's job is to run up, tank a lot of the damage because he has high armor, high HP regen. He just wants the carry to farm in general, unless you have a kill lane. But, the general idea of Ogre, you take up the damage. Okay, hit me, I don't care. The carry's having free time, you're spending all the spells on me. Obviously, you don't want to die or anything, but you try to draw the attention to yourself and let the carry do their own thing. Enemies should try not to do that, right? Just ignore the tanky Ogre and try to focus all your damage on the fragile carry. Easier said than done. IO does not want that. IO does not want all of the damage on himself, but he doesn't want all of the damage on his carry either. The way he works between headdress, tether, the overcharge, giving heals, he wants both himself and the carry to take equal amounts of damage with a slight amount more damage to the carry because of tether. If Puppey is healing 2 from the headdress, Luna is healing 3.2. And that's why Luna should take slightly more damage, because she's getting slightly more healing from Puppey. But if Puppey is full health, he gets no value out of the AoE healing he is providing. And if Luna is full health, she's getting no value out of the healing IO is providing. And that's why you want to split the damage. By the way, if you're an old player of this game and you're not super up to date with IO, before you actually, if you were full health or full mana, you could not heal your carry at all. And so you needed to take damage on IO. That's not the case anymore. You still will heal them for what you're regenerating. but that regeneration is going to waste if you're full health and it's not going anywhere. So I'm going to point that out now because it's only 2 minutes, and so we are going to see that kind of come into play for the rest of this. So see, this is what you can do. When you have these trees broken, you can see Tiny and you can just hit him. Whereas if these trees were here, you have no idea if you're about to walk out and Tiny is suddenly there. Tiny at this level is like very close to be able to actually burst Io. Like it's very close if he did a little bit of harass and then the combo. So he has to be a bit careful. But by having all these trees broken, he's pretty safe, knows he shouldn't get too close in range. Now see, this is, okay, this is a little lower than ideal, but you want this, what you see here, where both of you have taken damage, and this way you're both making use of that healing. Your healing is not fast, but it's very consistent, and so you want to like slowly, consistently trade, do a bit of damage to each other. By each other, I mean both sides. So like the safe lane wants to trade with the off lane, because the idea is that eventually you will win that trade. You know, not in the first like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, but over the course of like a 5-minute laning period. Now, unfortunately, he gets his salve canceled right away. A little bit of a mistake. Astral Spirit does have a very long cast range. Luna? Oh, okay, they're okay. Okay, getting a magic stick first, also very common because you will share the heal again with yourself and your carry. But it also makes sense in this lane a bit. ET casts Astral Spirit a decent amount, and Tiny, he kind of saves his spells to do the burst combo, but then when he does use it, he's going to use both. So you can start to get some magic stick charges quite quickly. So you see here again, Io is sharing this XP with Luna. This is relatively safe. She is kind of low, but I think in many other cases, as a position 5, you would have this feeling of, oh, I should give Luna solo XP. Let me go come here and pull or something, or let me go like wander around, make sure they're not pulling. Oh, Tiny's dead, so you don't have to do that. But you have this feeling like, oh, I should give Luna solo XP in a conventional lane. In fact, let's check bottom. Okay, they're evenly split too, so it's not the best comparison. I was gonna say maybe in their lane we'll see that, you know, maybe PL is 4 and Undying is like 2, maybe close to 3. Let's see if that changes as time goes on. Maybe we can pull up the net worth and last hits. They are losing. Well, technically they're not losing this lane. It's kind of even between them. But, well, Tiny has some last hits too because he pulled the wave. But the enemy safe lane's doing a little bit better right now. Kind of okay though, because Luna is a faster farmer once she gets going than PL. Now Puppey gets 2 points in tether. I like this because of that HP/mana amplification, where it starts at 0.6, but like it really scales up. And by level 2, you're practically sharing, you know, it's pretty much a 1-to-1 ratio at that point. It's clearly not, it's a 0.9 ratio, but you know, if you're healing a salve on Puppey, you're pretty much almost using a salve on the Luna. Whereas before, with the 0.6 at level 1, you're only getting like almost half value out of that salve on Luna. And at that point, it's actually better to salve Luna in some cases. So I really do like the 2 points in tether by level 3, but I do see many people go with like more points in overcharge, for example. Now, when you have the overcharge, you are able to use it a bit more for healing and trading. That doesn't mean you have to wait for level 2 or anything, but it's a little safer. Your mana costs are not that high, and so eventually you'll run out of mana if you're spamming overcharge off cooldown, but you can still use it fairly liberally and not suffer too much issues. Now, something you can do as Io, we'll see if he does it, chooses not to because Tiny was coming in. You can actually just body block the offlaner and let the carry hit them. A tether also, you can't see it, tether does provide a slow when you walk in between people. It used to be a stun. That was crazy. Now you see, okay, what he was doing there, he was trying to tether up here to zip away. Unfortunately, ET hit him just too soon. I think it was like right there about to get away. But that idea is there. When you need to escape on Io, look for a target far away, 700 units at least, so that you can zip to them. You'll see that a lot if you watch Io players. Let's see what he bought. He bought another set of tangos to survive the laning stage. I think this is actually 3 sets of tangos at this point. He's got his magic stick. I'm a little surprised he got 2 Observer Wards. Let's see what he does with them. I'm a little surprised because Io is, I would assume, just going to go back to top. And because you're always tethered to your carry, it feels like, you know, when do you move out to place these wards? I could be wrong. Maybe he's at the point where he feels like he will start roaming. And actually, he might need to because this lane is starting to get really difficult, and she might have a better time in the jungle. Ooh, unfortunate. Gunner, pretty good at Invoker. Lands the Sunstrike. Part of me is surprised Puppey didn't run closer to Luna to try to split Sunstrike damage, and I think if he did that, he might have actually survived. But of course, that is, it's also kind of tough to just, like, do. You know, here we go. See? Same idea. You always zip away, and it can be interrupted if someone stuns you. But, hey, you still try, right? Also to note, if you die and you TP back to a lane as Io, you should try to tether to your carry right away if they need the healing, because you are going to amplify the regen from Fountain to your carry when you do that. Many position 5 Ios. I think position 4s do this as well, but I haven't been checking up on those as much. But position 5 Ios tend to skip spirits. You're really about healing and tethering someone. And you really want someone who's going to make use of the attack speed. Like, just the healing is cool and all, but if they're someone who can right-click really well, that's even better. Some are better at this than other. You know, that seems like kind of obvious, where it's like, oh, of course the hard carry wants attack speed. And yeah, like, of course. But this is why Io is... Say with Sven. Sven hits really hard, but his attack speed tends to be slower. That's what balances him out. You either hit hard and slow, or you hit kind of weak but fast. Io is just like, hey, you want to hit hard and fast? That's pretty cool, right? It is pretty cool. It makes those heroes really strong. So someone like Sven is a great partner for Io. Of course, that doesn't mean you can't use it with people who already hit fast, like Drow and all those. But I personally feel they just don't feel as amazing of the combo when you do that. A bit close, but unfortunately, ET is very strong. Tries to give him the old loop-de-loop, but they're just going to break the tree and get the kills. I'd be a little surprised if they keep coming back to top lane. Although the courier's here, I guess he needs to. Part of me feels like they may want to... Well, what level's Luna? She's only 4. She doesn't have... Like, she's not quite ready to jungle. I guess you do have to keep coming to this lane. But it's starting to feel, like, not great. You know, we're seeing them die a little bit. Now, this is a question I personally had, whether Io's still buy bottle. And this shifts a bit as time has gone on. It used to be, of course you buy bottle. But then bounty runes are only every 5 minutes. And then the power rune is like only 1 spawns, and it's top or bottom. And it's like, okay, I have a Void Spirit who also got bottle. So do we get 2 bottles on the team? Puppey says yes. And from the games I've noticed, he seems to always buy the bottle as one of his first major items after the headdress and the stick. He gets the bottle. Now, it makes sense, you know, why the item is good on Io, because you heal yourself, and because of your tether, you therefore heal your target. But what has made me question if it's worth it is that change to bounty runes and the power runes, and it feels like it's harder to get your bottle refilled. Let's see how it plays out. Just because Puppey can do it doesn't necessarily mean it's something we can do in their pubs. That's really good. The Trusty Shovel is fantastic on Io. You dig up salves, which you can use on yourself, or you dig up bounty runes, which you can refill your bottle with. Obviously, you can't plan on that, right? Puppey bought the bottle before they knew they had the shovel, and he buys bottle anyways in most games, and you're not going to get the shovel every game. But it is a really nice combo to have. I expect he might hold this for quite a while. ET level 6, a bit scary. Can get a rotation in. Just a Shadow Demon, though. Not sure if they can really play this out. Actually, here, this is exactly what I was talking about. He bought this Ether Ward quite a while ago, and he still has it. Because he can't really leave top. That's why I'm a little surprised he got 2. It looks like he wants to rotate, try to help his Sven mid. I think he's trying to move with the Shadow Demon. Because Shadow Demon TP'd up here, it's like, oh, okay, let's try to make a play. Stacking here. That's always good. I'm sure I would have forgotten and missed that timing. Maybe they can kill this Tiny. No, gonna toss him back. But they're starting to try to make space, and you see Luna has ditched the top lane and gone to jungle. Looks like he kind of waited till Luna was level 5, and I think got the second point in Moonglaves, and then he started to move around. So he made sure his carry was ready to jungle before ditching that lane. Very obvious when I say it like that, you know? But it's something you should consider on any hard support, but Io as well. You know, make sure... Okay, here. Perfect. We see him dig up the bounty rune and then bottle himself, tether over, heal up his Luna. Actually, he didn't use it again before filling, I feel like. Again, this is very common, where... Actually, with stacks, I guess it is. Other position 5s do this. But frequently, you might try to give solo XP to just the carry. But Io really, he wants to share the XP. And then usually you want to try to get a fast relocate, because then you have a bit more global presence. That is really hard to incorporate in pub games. I would expect Puppey to do it very well. This is a very high level game. Many people know how to play with Io. This is something I'm really bad at. I think this is my worst part about playing Io, is that I'm really bad at relocating effectively throughout the game. Here we're going to see it. They're going to use to kill this Undying. Maybe a little overkill. He's going to leave Luna here and go back to where he TP'd from, or relocated. Not a big travel distance. But that's something I'm really bad with on Io, is using relocate, and that's something you're going to struggle with in your pub games as well. It's going to be two ways, okay? If you're playing Io at any rank below Divine, and you're not in a party game, you have a benefit and a negative of playing Io. The benefit is that the enemy team does not know how to play against Io a lot of the times. So if you are really good and you can coordinate your team, like, it's super powerful. Many people, like, they don't focus Io, they keep trying to kill the core. They don't do what we were talking about, where it's like, oh, focus all your damage on one person to make Io's job a little inefficient. They'll, like, split the damage. They won't prioritize Io in team fights. They'll keep trying to kill the core he's healing, and it's like, why can't I kill this guy? Maybe it's because he's getting a crazy amount of heals, you know? All of that, you know, they go out of position, relocates, come in. Io's very strong in that regard. The downside is that your team often does not know how to play with Io. So they won't, you know, they see you dying, they run in to help you, and you're like, no, get away from me. I will tether to you. They don't know that. They don't know. You try to tell them, like, I'm going to relocate in, and they're like, what? They break tether as you're trying to relocate. You know, so it's very difficult to play Io in pubs. But he's a really fun hero, I think. And so if you play party queue, I think he can be really good if you like Io. And if you're willing to talk a lot in your pub games, I think he can also be really good. But you kind of have to test the waters a little bit. You know, at the start of the game when you load in, before you even pick a hero, say hello to your team, see if anyone responds, see how talkative people are. All right, let's get back to it. Puppey, after getting the bottle, he's going to go for mech first. Now, see, this is actually the issue now. With bottle, usually, ignoring the fact he has a trusty shovel. When you hit this 11-minute mark, and it's like, okay, bounty runes don't spawn till 15. And the power runes are going to spawn at, 12. But do I prioritize the power rune over my void spirit? It's kind of weird. Ooh, really nice. Now, mech is really good with Io just because the heal from mech is good. And then because of that whole tether mechanic, you end up healing whoever you're tethered to, like, a crazy amount. And so it is a really good burst heal. Even better than a mech usually is on Io. The aura is also pretty good against ET. But he goes mech, like, every game, even regardless of draft, it seems. So I don't know if that's, like, the fairest. But it is pretty good here because of ET's passive. The mech will help with that. And, of course, you buy the buckler first to get the benefits of this component before saving up for the final recipe. He's going to relocate in. That's pretty interesting to me, instead of TPing. Let's see if he brings someone home. You know, why not just TP out to the lane? Maybe it's because... Let's go back and look again. It might be because he knows multiple people need to rotate in, and if everyone uses the teleport scroll, it stacks the extended cooldown. Or maybe his TP was on cooldown just before. Alright, that could be the reason why too. Maybe we overthought that a little bit. Or maybe he is thinking that next level of like, oh, Shadow Demon's TPing in. I don't want to increase his cooldown when I could relocate in 3.5 seconds. Does not bring Sven back. I thought maybe that's a reason. Like, you relocate in, you win the fight, you bring the carry home to the fountain so they can heal, and that carry then TPs out to another location to farm. You know, maybe it's a super next level efficiency thing. In this case, it looks like his TP was just on cooldown. I was always looking for XP. Regen rune, extremely strong on Io. Ooh, I think that's going to get him killed. That was a really good interrupt avalanche. So that is the risk of the whole tether escape. You have to be a little careful if they have interrupts, because it will stop you. Picked up his mangoes. Again, any kind of consumable is really nice on Io, because you not only get the effect for yourself, but you get it for your carry. Now, he didn't buy those mangoes. If you missed it, he picked them up from his mango tree. I don't think you would usually buy mangoes to hold on Io. I do sometimes see people buy salves on Io, just to have like one pocket ready, so that when like a big team fight breaks out, even in the mid to late game, as long as you have slots and you're tethered to someone, that 400 heal gets amplified an extra 1.5, so the carry is healing 600. That's pretty good. And your carry's in the front line, and you're in the back trying not to get it canceled. Now, back to the Luna, trying to speed up her farm a bit, also get more XP. Annoying thing about Io, if this video makes you want to play, you've never played him, you can't level up tether if you're tethered to someone, which is pretty annoying. Relocating in bottom brings Luna. Okay, let's see if he brings Luna home, or if he leaves Luna here for the tower. I don't think he needs to. I think they can just go back top, leave Luna to farm the jungle. Yep. I kind of forgot what I was saying right before that point, though. Oh, yeah. So the tether, you have to break tether, level it up, and then re-tether your target, which is really annoying in the laning phase. And if you're someone of, like, habit, you might find that you like end up leveling overcharge or spirits instead of maxing out tether. I know I do that on occasion. I'm trying to get better about it. I haven't played Io in a little bit, but that's just a warning. If you don't play Io, it's pretty irritating. That's a quality of life change I would love to see, but I suspect it would require coding based on the way it works, and so I don't know if we'll ever see it. But that would be great. Looks like they're winning this team fight. See, is Shadow Demon playing as a 4 or a 5? I mean, that's definitely something difficult to coordinate in your pub, so I don't know if it quite matters. So, oh, this is maybe next time? Is it? Or is that's just his name? I'm surprised Pro Dota Tracker didn't mention that maybe next time is playing SD. I mean, I don't recognize all the names, but well, anyways. Doesn't really matter. Looks he got the mech. Alright. We'll back up a bit. I hit the mic. We'll just cut that out. But we kind of mentioned it earlier, but it's just hard to play Io if you have a really greedy position 4. I'm trying to think. Earthshaker, maybe? Enigma. People who need to prioritize a lot of farm. Puppey or like Io also kind of wants a decent amount of farm because he wants these items that amplify, that heal, so that he can like amplify them. It's like what he needs to do. He's gonna bring. He is gonna bring. It's just busted because of the because I went back in time a little bit, but he did bring Luna. You just kind of bring your fighter along, like whoever you're with, Luna in this case. Sven. I'm interested as this game goes on whether he's going to stay with Luna or join Sven. Luna's TPing top. Oh, this is kind of interesting. He's TPing mid. I wonder why he came mid. It seems like he could have just walked here. Maybe he thought something was going to happen in mid and then nothing did. But now he's just like standing here waiting to stack. I mean, which is great, but it seems like he could have just walked there to stack. A little curious on that. Stuff's happening bottom, so he's making his way over. Io, not a hero that functions on his own, always needs to be near teammates. He's going to come join Sven here. Give him some crazy attack speed with God Strength. He's got a Heart of Tarask. So the other item he builds after Mechanism is Holy Locket. I know, right? Holy Locket is probably one of the least popular items in the game right now. Or it just doesn't feel like it has a place. But it seems like it may have finally reached a point where some pros are testing it a little. Because we're seeing Puppey build Holy Locket a lot. And maybe that's what he's doing. Like why he keeps doing the same build is because he's testing it to see how it feels. But we also saw it come into play in the OG vs. Secret. And I'm sure some other games that maybe I missed it. But when they were doing this hardcore all-in protect PA strategy, someone got Holy Locket. I can't remember who it was. I kind of feel like it was Thompson. And I've seen Dubu test Holy Locket once or twice. I don't know if he was memeing or not. But it seems like maybe we're getting to the point where Holy Locket can finally be built on some people. Because it is slowly getting buffed over time. And this is Puppey's build. He gets like the headdress to start, a stick, bottle, any consumables he needs along the way, builds the mech, and then builds the Holy Locket. And if you're unfamiliar, because Holy Locket is technically a relatively new item, but also never built, so maybe you forgot what it does amplify or heal. We'll get back to that. They're relocating in. And this is what you want to do. This is the hard part about playing IO in pubs. You want to relocate around and get these easy kills for your carry. And you kind of make it efficient to run around and farm everything. Brings his carry back. I think they were planning to try to kill this Tiny. Maybe didn't expect so many people to be here. You see how hard it is to kill that? To kill that Sven, even though they had everyone here? And by everyone, I mean like 3 people. But 3 people who are like decent at bursting heroes down. But with all the heals, everything, they eventually kill him, but it make it hard. They have to commit a lot. Now the rest of the team has made it and is trying to help out. And it looks like this fight's going to work out for them. Again, he's just a very high coordination hero. That's why many people are afraid to play IO in pubs. Myself included a little bit. Although for me, I'm more afraid of messing up relocate, which actually does come down to coordination, I suppose. So, but I feel like that's the hardest part of the hero, is making use of relocate. Now, he does choose to max out both tether and overcharge before even getting a single point in spirits, and he picks the HP regen talent. Doesn't carry any detection, which I'm a little surprised about. You know, you do have an invoker, and like maybe they still don't get that kill. I don't know. That's something that surprises me. The more I watch high-level players from their perspective, I notice they don't always carry Dust or Sentries. And obviously, they can't all be making a mistake, right? So maybe that means I should not always be carrying Dust or Sentries. Or like Dust specifically, like oftentimes they will just carry Sentries. Or like, we see here, Puppey's not carrying either, even though he's technically the position 5. Even against an Invoker. Maybe he just doesn't prioritize the Invoker enough and thinks like, I don't need to carry detection like this. But to me, it's just surprising because it's a classic thing when you see people talk about the game, like, oh, lower ranks don't carry enough detection. And, I myself, I try to always carry like Dust anytime there's an Invis hero and Sentries. But then I see a lot of position 5 pros, they're just like, I'll just use Sentries. Or none, whatever. Like, let's check who's got it. Who's got detection? So, Shadow Demon has detection. Void Spirit has detection. And that's enough for them. They're like, yeah, we don't need more detection on the position 5. I don't know. I don't know what the balance is. But it is something I noticed that high-level players do. They don't fill both slots with detection. Maybe that's a mistake I'm making. It feels hard, though, because then it's like you get flamed really hard if you don't have detection. I think a certain extent is pro players are better at coordinating to know that, okay, one of our initiators has, like, detection. And honestly, to me, it makes more sense. Who goes in on these fights? Void Spirit goes in. Io is not the one running up front hunting out Invoker. And that's why, like, to me, it's okay that Io doesn't have Dust. But in your classic pub game, by the way, again, sorry to interrupt my own thought again. Well, we'll finish the thought then. In your pub game, it's hard, and it's expected for the supports to always have the detection, even if cores are actually the people who should be holding it. Because they're the ones who need to go in, and they're the ones who actually need it. And then they ping you, and they're like, why didn't you Dust? And it's like, I'm not in range, I'm a backline support. But it feels like you need to have it in order to avoid having your team tilt out of control, because, like, if that happens, even if you're right, you're still going to lose. The next thing, back to what I was going to interrupt myself on. Again, if you're an old school player and you didn't know this change, Io can now tether to BKB targets. Before, you couldn't. You had to be tethered to someone before they BKB'd. Another quality of life change that just made the hero easier to play in pubs. Slightly less coordination you had to work out there. Be like, tell me when you BKB so I can be tethered. Yeah, so see, he just has a ton of sentries instead of... Ooh. Tries to relocate to cut him off. By the way, relocate shows on the map. So if you're the enemy team and you suddenly see like a glowing... That's Io relocating in on there from the enemy team. So it's not like you can secretly do this. That's why you usually need some coordination. Someone to start a fight and like stun them, slow them, something, while you relocate in. And not just like you start relocating in and they just leave, you know? And just the two of them are needed for Roshan. And winning a team fight without them aren't even needed. Oh, Luna did die, but they got the double kill. And they're going to get the Roshan here on Weehaw. Maybe next time has given up. But you can kind of see why. 18k at 22 minutes. And a lot of this enabled by the Io, I feel like. You saw them rotate around for ganks, so they're like almost always winning team fights. Like, that's the power of Io, why he's such a strong pub hero. And it's also why it's so hard to play him in pubs. It's so hard to communicate and relocate around. But because they've done it, they're 17k up at 22 minutes. Probably going to win this game. I know they're going to win this game because I picked it out. Something I want to note there. Let's look at these neutrals. To him, all of these are worth less than that shovel. Clumsy Net actually gives Io some form of crowd control and a way to cancel TPs, something he lacks. And it also gives mana regen, which is very nice to pass on to your carries. So Clumsy Net, I think, is actually a pretty solid Io item. But when you have a shovel and when you have this bottle, it makes a lot of sense to me to say, you know what, I'm just going to keep the shovel. Shovel's really good. Now, Aquila, another item I might consider. Anything that gives aura regen, so like the passive here, the mana regen. It's like, okay, Luna gets 1.25 from Aquila, and guess what? From me, I get the 1.25, which amplifies by multiply it by 1.5 to then give to Luna as well. So any aura healing is really good on Io. And so if no one on his team wanted Aquila, maybe you get to T3s and they drop Aquila. I could see Io picking this up. You get some decent stats, and the armor. Because you're always planning to fight, any kind of aura, especially ones that heal you, but also just like armor, magic resist, all that stuff works out really well. Something I'm interested in, I didn't see any of the games against an AA. AA is not very popular right now, so most people wouldn't just first pick an AA. But AA is pretty good against Puppey, and something I've done against Ancient Apparitions is to build a pipe, because the magic shield to block magic damage. Like that has... It feels like it has a bit more impact in case you get hit by the AA blast, because otherwise all your healing does nothing. But with the pipe, you reduce the damage that yourself and everyone takes, but then you also have the active shield to further reduce it. It picks up the arcane energy booster as they run through, has the recipe on the way. Needs to shovel. I see they can split push again, so this is the power. Again, it's one of the words I need to work on cutting out. I've noticed that. But look at the map. Sven's farming top. His team farming mid. They're farming bottom. And they aren't that scared of this because Io and Luna can relocate into a fight anytime. It's like, it's the power of Io. Is you can play the map so well with a coordinated team. If you don't have a coordinated team, it doesn't work. Io's talents, pretty good later on as you go. Another reason he wants XP. We'll see what he picks at 15. I think it's more common to get the TPing in for the rune and the fight. Pass it on to Luna. She works really well. I would guess he leaves Luna here. It looks like they're winning the team fight. Brings her back. Possibly because they saw them setting up on them. And that with the Luna... Yeah, this totally worked out. They tried to set up on Io coming back. Didn't know if Luna would be here or not. Turns out they brought the Luna back with them. Get killed. Now, sometimes you are going to have to take the loss and just go back alone and die. Puppey has put himself in a position where he does not have to. He's very few deaths. Io, sometimes you'll see, has a lot of deaths, and it's because he's like always buying back, saving his carries. I think that was more common before Io had all these like sick talents, especially ones that helped him like transition to a core. And now it seems like people prioritize like staying alive and not being such a like selfless save support. But before, you used to see that a lot. Like Zai playing Io, I remember seeing him like buy back. He'd be dying all the time, but he'd be saving his core so much that they would still be winning the fights. Io's stats look bad, but you know, the game is winning. Now he is choosing. Actually, let's I was kind of talking about another topic, so let's back up and pay attention to how this fight starts. Right now he's tethered to the Sven, but you just don't see it. I'm curious how he picks between, do I stay on Sven or do I go to Luna? So right now he was on Sven, switches to Luna. He could have easily stayed on Sven. I think part of it might have been that Sven is a little bit more survivable and that Sven has the Aegis. So by attaching to Luna, you are prepared to heal her, burst heal when they literally do this, they try to kill Luna. But she's also the one who's going to hit the tower. And so if you're tethered to her with your overcharge going, you know, you give it a bit easier time for her. And then he can counter initiate when they like go on the Luna. So I guess when I talked it out, it's kind of an easy explanation on why he chose Luna over Sven. And Luna is just a fantastic tower built hitter, so you want her to have... They probably just win here, right? Luna's so good at taking all this. They have 2 people dead. Looks like they're playing it safe, getting the megas. Part of me thinks they could maybe just end the game, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to play it safe. Guarantee the win. At this rate, though, it kind of looks like they don't even have to leave this base. They are a bit low on mana, so it looks like they are going to play it safe and back out. Interesting. Gets the plate mail. Pick up the mangoes if they're sitting in your base. What could he be doing with a plate mail? Lotus Orb? To reflect... What? Cold Snap and Soul Rip? Doesn't seem... Well, it seems okay, I guess. Shiva's Guard? Help to reveal the real PL? But you already have clear and all that. I need to see him, like, queue up an item. What are you building, puppy? Yeah, he's got the Void Stone, so I guess it's a Lotus Orb. Ooh, Greater Fairy Fire. Another, yeah, you'll see he swaps it in. 450 heal that gets amplified on your core. It is incredible. It's a really strong item. Now, you don't make use of the damage, unfortunately. So sometimes it might still be better for a core to take. But if a core has other items like these, Orb of Destruction, Mindbreaker, and then the Greater Fairy Fires open, honestly, it's really good. Other neutrals, by the way, while we're on the topic, and just kind of like watching them run around farming, which, again, see, there it is. I will re-emphasize the fact that, look, they can play way back here because they can just relocate into a fight. They're making really good use of the map. But while we're on this topic, any neutral item that gives you regen, so like the repair kit is a fantastic one. Quickening Charm even gives some HP regen, but the cooldown is probably better on some of your cores. But things like the honey, all that, any kind of regen is like really strong on Io. And it's worth strengthening Io because Io strengthens the cores, which is a hard concept to understand sometimes for people, and I can't emphasize enough. That's why it feels really difficult to play Io sometimes in pubs. But you'll see they could relocate into the fight. Leaves his core there because they were clearly winning the fight. No need to get the core out to safety. Now they're going to end here. Let's speed up. I can't imagine how they don't just end the game. Yeah, look at this. We'll do it in real time, but still look how fast it falls. Oh. Didn't Greater Fairy Fire in time. Forgot he had it, I bet. And the enemy team is putting up a last defense here. But that didn't even need to happen, right? They were just feeling it. They ran in to play really aggressive just because they can. And the game's gonna end here. Did Puppey buy back there? Was I not paying attention? Yeah, Puppey bought back and relocated in. I'm glad we got to see that, actually, because this game was going so well, we didn't really see Io play more like those kind of plays. But that's something you can do as Io. You buy back, you relocate in, you have the fountain regen on you, so you tether to your carry, and then, first of all, you're doing this massive amount of heal on them. And if you want to even go next level, you can, like, pop a salve before you go, have mangoes ready to, like, super heal them, things like that. But then, if that fight still doesn't go well, like, you bought back, and it still looks kind of iffy, if you're not dead in those, like, 13 seconds, you can then bring your carry back home, and get them out of that fight. So, that is a mechanic that we didn't quite see there. You know, they're kind of memeing at the end. He just bought back because he could. But I want to point that out in case this is kind of your introduction to Io and you're thinking about playing him. That is another play that is something you can do. Take a look at the lanes. So even though that top lane was a bit rough, they ditched it around here. And even at this point, they were kind of winning. But ET was at the point where, like, he wasn't farming as well, but he had the levels, and so they could get the kill, so Luna needed to kind of go to the jungle. But that's okay. Mid one went a Glaives build that helps him jungle really fast. And Io was able to go make stuff happen around the map. And as we look at the graph, like, they just kind of maintain that lead. We see them play very active, moving around, using relocate to show up to all the fights. He has great targets to tether to, the Luna and the Sven, amplify them, heal them up, give them all that attack speed. And that's it. Nothing else to say about this. Itemization. The Lotus Orb is a little interesting to me. I don't even know if it mattered at this point in the game, though, to be honest. But at least up to this bottle, mech, and Holy Locket, Puppey seems to be doing it in all of his games. Maybe he's testing it out, so this isn't necessarily the greatest build in the world. And obviously, we only looked at Puppey play this hero. We didn't compare it to, like, other IO players. But, I mean, if Puppey is willing to try it out, thinks it has potential, then I think that is more than enough to justify us trying it as well. If you want to just copy this build, probably pretty safe. And then I'll throw in, if you do end up against a Ancient Apparition, personally, I recommend skipping the mech and going for a pipe instead, because if you get hit by AA or your carry gets hit, even if you heal yourself, you can't do anything for your carry. And so I think the pipe has a bit more value there. I could be wrong on that, but it makes sense to me, and I hope that the logic also makes sense. But maybe if you see a pro game where there's an AA and the IO still doesn't get the pipe, or he doesn't have a teammate that gets the pipe either, let me clarify that. If you don't have a teammate that is going to buy pipe, then you can buy it. But if someone else is going to buy pipe, then you can figure it out from there. Maybe still get the mech and just try to dodge the AA blast, stuff like that. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.